Hi, I'm Adria Wu, a natural chef and the founder of Maple & Co. We're a healthy eatery based in London. We have 3 stores at the moment, which we couldn't be more proud about, and we serve healthy, delicious breakfasts, lunches, cold-pressed juices, smoothies, and gluten-free baked treats to Londoners that don't have time to make their own food at home. On the first day we opened, which was over 2.5 years ago, we had a local office come by, and this particular office brought about 25 people waiting at the door, literally waiting for our doors to open. So these are your 20-somethings working in media, and they were so excited to be the first ones to the door. And within, I would say, 15 minutes, we ran out of food. So it shows you how things can go horribly wrong on your first day. But we were very proud to serve this local office, and they've been loyal customers since. I think at the end of the day, what I love the most is working with the people that I work with. So if I had more time, I have an incredible team of 30 that work tirelessly with me day in and day out. I'd love to spend more time coaching them and understanding what makes them happy in their job and making sure that they get the most out of their career. The second point would really be paying them more. It would be great if I can compensate them more for all the hard work they've put into the Maple company, into the Maple family, so that they can live the life they want to also outside of work. I started as an engineer, so I studied in Canada as an industrial engineer, and so what was great about it was I spent a lot of time understanding how things were made, how to optimize different processes. I really loved it. I worked with a food manufacturer at the time. As a young 20-something professional, I was already passionate about food. Going from an engineer, I then decided I needed to change pretty quickly and went into finance and consulting. So in finance and consulting, it was really about helping understand how businesses worked. So I went from understanding how food was made or processes worked in a manufacturing environment. It was going into understanding how businesses grew, how they were able to make profits, how they were able to enter new markets. So after I did that for a couple of years, there was a lot of travel. So I had to fly quite a bit. In my first year, I traveled 294 nights in a hotel as my first year as an analyst, which was a lot. But I also got a chance to see the world, which was great. But 7 years later of being on a plane, living in hotels, I just got burnt out. I was tired of that lifestyle. I really needed a change. And I went back to thinking about what I love the most. And one is food, obviously. And the other thing is working out and kind of the whole well-being fitness world. I looked at the two things and thought, well, where could I start off? I'm an engineer/consultant who knows very little about food, aside from eating it and cooking occasionally. I work out, but that's all I really know. So I thought school was probably the next step. So I moved to London in 2012 to go back to school, retrain at Le Cordon Bleu to become a chef. I work on all different things, as every entrepreneur knows. Even today I was cleaning one of our toilets, and other days I'm trying to do the bookkeeping, and other days I'm running around doing errands for other people on my team. So it's everything, but I'd like to think those are probably not as important. I think the important things for me are really about looking at how we can grow our business. It's about being agile. The way you can compete when you're small, I think one is your own unique brand, but I also think the other thing is really about being agile. So reacting to market changes, reacting to what your customers are looking for, and reacting to where your business is growing. I would say my business kind of grows like this. I thought it was going to go like this in a straight trajectory, but it really hasn't. It's been like zigzag all around. Trying to make sure we follow the right path so that we can continuously grow the business. So whether that's opening more Maple stores is one thing. I'm really excited about technology. I don't know if there's something we can do in food and wellness and technology. My engineering, manufacturing background and consulting, I did a lot of retail work, so maybe there's an opportunity in retail. And so really taking the time to grow the business correctly, if that makes sense. I think that the industry is growing really quickly, so I consider Maple & Co. not just a food operator who obviously competes with a lot of the high street brands we know, but I think that we actually play in an overall wellness market. We have the responsibility of changing people's habits, changing the way we look at food. So if you look at over the years, we went from the paleo type diets, which is like caveman, where we take everything from the earth and it's uncooked, to kind of going to when I grew up in the 80s, everything is about TV dinners and microwavable foods. That was super fashionable, super trendy. And then you zip forward to the 90s and 2000, where people are still starved for time and money, but we're actually trying to make a bigger connection with where our food comes from, making a connection of why we eat food and what it does to our body. So I think there's an element, and I know this term is a bit cliche, but I think the whole wellness market is going towards a bit about mindfulness and understanding how we connect with our food. As that industry changes, I think what we need to do to stay competitive and also to stay relevant is really be able to be at the forefront of the knowledge that's being presented out there. As we learn more about how food interacts with our body, and this is kind of wellness trends are constantly changing. So I think it's understanding what those trends are, but then really going back to basics. Something I strongly believe in is, again, going to paleo or like these gluten-free diets. The latest is ketones. I don't know if you heard of ketone, where it's you only eat fat and protein. So there's kind of all these trends with food and how it's supposed to impact our physical and mental well-being. But I think a lot of times we just need to step back and understand the fundamentals of what's basic nutrition that we need in our body, right? We need the 6 essential nutrients. So I really believe in making sure we get carbohydrates, fats, vitamins, minerals, protein, and water. These are the 6 essential nutrients we always need to have. As the wellness industry continues to expand and grow, I really hope we're able to kind of give people that foundation and basic knowledge about the basic habits we just need to stick to make sure that we eat properly and we nourish our bodies properly. That's actually something that I had spent a lot of time thinking as I made this transition from engineer/consultant working in business. Why I wasn't happy and why I needed change. I was getting paid well. I'm very fortunate to have a great family network. I lived in an exciting place where some people lived in Dubai, and touch wood, but I had my health. So there's really no reason why I couldn't be happy. And I think part of it is just understanding what makes you as an individual, me as an individual tick. And so I actually spent a lot of time thinking about why. And I think for me, it's really about giving people the confidence and giving people a reason to be happy about what they're doing. Not what they've done in the past, not what they're going to do in the future, but really, truly being happy in the moment. And so the why for me really is about not focusing on things like your ego. I think, often my ego gets in the way. And I think with my previous career, it was my ego. I wanted to have nice things. I wanted to have this high flying career, and I had those things, but I wasn't happy because I think fundamentally I wasn't looking at what made me happy. And so what I found was becoming a chef and working with my hands and being on my feet all day and running around, the madness actually makes me happy. It sounds crazy, but I actually love that. I think it's, like I said, it's in a way being a bit selfish in a sense, but actually understanding what makes you tick. And it's not easy. There is no right answer for the rest of your career, but I think as we evolve in our personal lives and our careers, there's going to be different things that make us happy. But I think that's the why. Like, I want to make other people happy. I want to make, give people the energy through food to be able to go and conquer the day, whether you're working 15 hours at our job, which we both do, and then on top of that you have family to take care of, on top of that you need to see friends, on top of that you have parents. And so I think there's so much out there in the world, and we really, through nutrition and food, hopefully it can give us kind of the confidence to do all those things and then feel great about it. It's kind of the classic nature versus nurture, right? So I think that there has to be something inherent, having the ability first to believe in yourself, right? I think it comes from that. So on the one hand, you can argue that you're born that way, you're born with confidence, but I also think that a lot of that sits with your own family and friends. So people that are around you that support you and believe in what you're doing. Because no matter how confident you are, I think a lot of us still need, at least I do, you need validation from outside, and you need someone outside of your own mind to tell you you're doing a good job and you're doing the right thing. So I think a bit of it is you're born with it, but I think a lot of it too is your surrounding environment and factors. I think it's also about finding what makes you tick. If you find that one thing that you wake up being obsessed about and when you go to sleep you're obsessed about, that's what's going to make you kind of tick. And so if that's for someone having a family and taking care of your children, that could be your drive. You may end up, work could be secondary, or work could be number one for you, or it could be a mix of work and home. And so you really need to find out what makes you really happy and what motivates you, what makes you get up in the morning. And that's the thing with my previous job as consultant. I hated getting it. Every morning I wake up, I just dreaded going to work, and I was not a morning person. Now I can easily snap up at like 5 in the morning and I'm excited to get my day going. So I think it's really about finding that motivation as well to make sure you're driven to achieve the things you want to achieve. Yes. I would say, yeah, who doesn't? No, there are days, nights, weeks where it's just, I come home just broken. Like, it's so much work, it's so stressful. The weird thing is, I think that you always feel like you're letting other people down. I think that's what's probably the most difficult thing about being an entrepreneur. You're letting down all those people who believe in you. You're letting down all those people who need you. And I think that's probably what the most upsetting thing is. People who invested in your business, your family who's there by you. I think that's kind of, you're letting yourself down, but you're also really, I feel like, letting others down because you're so close to it. You're so close to your business. It's an extension of you as a being, and that business represents you. If you get a bad review or you get a customer, like, nothing hurts me more. I still answer to every single customer complaint myself personally because that touches me personally. That's a reflection of me. Yeah, absolutely. I think there are days where it's really hard and it's long hours. It doesn't pay the greatest working for yourself. So there are days, but I think that's part of the madness. That's part of the ups and downs. And there are other days where I'm on an absolute high and I can't believe this is happening to me. It's my dream come true. So it's the up and downs, and you really need to have a bit of a thick skin and kind of move forward. It's also understanding about how can you cope with those days where you just want to give up because you can't. You can't. You have to keep going. And again, that comes down to ego versus something you're passionate about. So if you're doing something for ego, that can be fleeting. You might, in a couple of years down the road, you've reached some monetary goals. You'll hit that. But I think if you're passionate, you truly love what you do, you'll keep going at it, and your body and mind won't let you stop. So I guess that's kind of the difference, really. For me, it's really understanding what drives others. It's really about spending time with my management team and even my junior level staff to understand what really makes them tick. And once you get that, it's not about the money. I don't think I'll ever, as a small business, be able to pay the best money there is out. Maybe I can someday, but for now, it's not that. But if I can understand what makes them excited and makes what they wake up to every day, I think that's how you motivate people, is understanding what their goals and dreams and aspirations are. And it could be something as big as potentially changing the world someday, saving world hunger. It could be something as simple as being able to provide for their family so that their children can have like a happy, stable life. Or if it's for themselves and they want to buy a house or a car or be able to go shopping every week, whatever it is, I think it's understanding what makes them tick and then helping them drive towards their goal, whichever way you can. So many things. I would say the hardest thing is probably being strong for others in your team. I think that as an entrepreneur and as a leader of an organization, I think that it is important to be strong for your team, but as you said earlier, asked me if I have bad days. And yeah, I have bad days. I don't always want to be smiling. I don't always want to be friendly with customers or my staff. So I think the hardest thing is probably being a strong leader in the midst of stress and chaos and disorganization and sometimes feeling down yourself. But I think it is important to be strong for your team. And I think then understanding when you can be vulnerable. It is okay sometimes to be vulnerable, but it has to be in the right situation and with the right people and the right time. The other thing is probably accounting. Accounting is one of the hardest things in a business where it's cash driven. Managing your cash flow is I think most entrepreneurs find that tricky, right? Managing your cash flow. So I wouldn't say accounting. It's really having the cash to make sure that, you're going to pay your staff on time, to make sure that the contract you sold or the food you sold, the cash is coming in. So I think that sometimes keeps me up at night, thinking about making sure we have enough cash to fund our next month. And especially when you're growing, you're constantly reinvesting. You're opening more stores, or you're hiring more staff, or you're investing in PR or marketing, and you just want to make sure you have enough money to continuously fund your business when you're at a young stage like this. I've completed 2 rounds of funding, all through kind of family and friends / angels, so private funding really, and funding for equity in the business. So for the first round of funding, I put in my life savings basically, then begged pretty much everyone I knew to put in a bit of money themselves as well. So it was, my parents, my in-laws, brother and sister-in-law, and some friends, put together a business plan and basically presented to them and said, hey, look, this is what I would love to do. This is my dream. And with family and friends, there's still obviously a sell element, but it is also being transparent about the reality of a business. Food is risky. So I think it's doing that, and then looking at obviously setting up all the legal elements, getting a shareholders document, issuing shares, all these things, and making sure that although it is a agreement between yourself and family and friends, I think they're still very important to set up the right legal elements. We never want to think about this. Hopefully my parents won't sue me, or I won't need to. That's the hope. But I think what it does is it it pushes you to think through some of the tougher decisions, to imagine a world where things do go badly, how would you react? So that was really important. On the second round of funding, again, private funding through some angel investors, and they're amazing. I didn't know them prior to investment, but it's a family fund, a father and a daughter, and they came in to help us grow our second and third stores, and they've just been incredible. They're equity holders, they're active in the business when needed to be, but not so in my face at all. So as a sole founder, it's actually incredible to have that support, but they're not trying to take too much on at the same time, if that makes sense. Yeah, I've been fortunate and critical in the success of the business. Also with a lot of founders, I think paying yourself is important, because if you're not able to put a roof over your own head and pay for your own basic living expenses, you're not going to be able to run your business. So I think for a lot of people, whether that's saving enough money to pay yourself over the next couple of years, or whether that's actually getting external funding, I think every entrepreneur needs to pay themselves from day one. And day one could mean, 2 months before opening, or when you actually start your practice, whatever it is. I think it's really important to raise that money to invest in the business and pay yourself as a founder. My superhero favorite person is Michelle Obama. I think she's so incredible and so inspiring. I mean, she's elegant, she's super intelligent, she's well-spoken, she has a family, she ran a country for a while, she's done so much, and she's also very passionate about wellness. So she has a few get moving type campaigns in the US. She's really, really inspiring, that says, especially as a female entrepreneur, that you can have both worlds. Not easy, but you can kind of have both worlds, which I think is really, really exciting. And I think the other thing is, I can't help this, but my husband, he grew up more in an entrepreneurial family. Both my parents worked for someone else. My dad is a banker. My mom worked for the public library. They had kind of the lifestyle and work ethic of someone who worked for someone else. But my husband grew up his whole life surrounded by entrepreneurs. I've learned a lot from him in terms of not letting the small things get to me. I think I used to be, I still stress out now, but I would say I used to not be able to handle the stress the same way I can now, and that's, I think, really important when you're running your own business, because everything will go wrong. Everything you ever dreamt could go wrong will go wrong. So you really need to have the confidence, kind of go past the obstacles get thrown your way, and also not dwell on it. So my husband's been really integral in terms of being my support and helping me live the lifestyle of an entrepreneur, really. I need to work out. If I don't, go for a run at least once or twice a week, I am a monster to work with. All my energy and adrenaline just gets built up. I just become a very unpleasant person. So for me, it's really about staying active. Whether it's going for a run or going for a walk or going to a spin class or doing some yoga, it's something. But I need that time where A, I'm by myself, not talking to anyone else, and B, just moving my body and burning off that excess energy. I think health is really important. I'm really afraid of, not that it keeps me up at night, but I definitely think about those around me, and my own health. I think how important it is, and I'm not talking about physical health, it's also mental well-being. We don't talk openly enough nowadays, and hopefully I think that's changing, about mental well-being. And I think that's probably what scares me the most, is in a world that we live in, like I said, we're time stressed, we're money stressed. I think a lot of those things can really come down on all of us, whether we're entrepreneurs or not, whether you're a father, a mother, a child, a student. There's so much information out there, and it can be quite overwhelming, and we lose track of what's really important. So I think mental and physical health, I think, is really important, because if we don't have those two things, we're not going to be able to pursue our dreams. We're not going to be able to do the things we want to do. I'm thankful every day, touch wood again, that people around me are, for the most part of it, healthy and happy, including myself. So I think that's what frightens me the most, is not having that. What's rebellious about me, I think, is that although I am a natural chef, so I believe in healthy eating, I believe in working out, staying fit, and all these things, but I do believe in balance. So I guess the rebellious side would be me loving all types of food, so whether that's fried chicken or pizza or nachos, and I drink alcohol. I love my wine and my champagne and my cocktails, and so I would say the rebellious side of me is being indulgent with food and drink and not feeling bad about it. So I think that's my rebellious side. Clearly not that rebellious, but I wish that I had a time machine that I could travel through time, and the main thing I would love to do is experience food and cultures across all the countries in the world and all the times that have spanned. So from the caveman days to medieval times to even the 50s and 60s and 70s. I would just love to be able to travel across time and eat my way through and wear the clothes and understand the fashion. So a time machine is something I wish I had. Make the world a happier place, one meal at a time.